Okay, here we are. Okay, so last time we talked, we pushed the drawing a little bit further. As you can see, the eye socket is getting more developed, starting to break into several values. Well, three values. So, yeah, three values. So I kind of did this little sketch up here. Well, it's not even sorry. All right. Well, that's a blooper. All right. Well, anyways, back to it. So I did this little, little value scale thing up here, little sketch thing. So you're gonna have these two shadow values. So we'll just call this like shadow. We'll just call it S1, and then S2, and then you're just gonna have your light value, which is pretty much just the white of the paper. So that's gonna be like the whitest, value of the paper. Obviously, there's a lot more values going on, but so what we're gonna do pretty much is we're gonna leave the I think we're gonna leave the light alone, and we're gonna kind of build. We're gonna start to break down certain like differences in the shadow. We're gonna like darken some, and then keep like just sort of picking out our darkest values in the shadow. And we're gonna stay like the shadow value shouldn't get too complicated. It should stick with two values in the shadow. Most of the value changes and stuff are gonna be in this light, in the white area, all the areas that are white. That's where a lot of the form and the turning of values is gonna happen. But mostly in the shadow, you want to keep it kind of quiet, keep it less, noisy, if you want to think of it like that. So I'm just gonna try and, keep it sort of calmer in the shadows. So this nose, we can actually, I think maybe we can go into the light here actually and break that down a little bit. We'll push that shadow a little bit down. So now we'll kind of get this shape going on here. And let's see where we got that. So we constantly want to think drawing as well. We're not just shading things in. It's got to be done with care and attention to not detail, but I mean attention to the drawing. And so you want to keep checking your proportions and whatever stage you're in, you always want to kind of make sure that you're not you want to keep the drawing that you worked really hard for. You want to kind of keep that strong, and you want to keep pushing the drawing forward as much as you can without losing the boldness of the drawing that you've worked so hard on, But you don't want to, you don't want to like become too dependent on your drawing. Like you want to be able to feel like you can still make changes, but they're not going to be as dramatic as changes as you think you would need to make. They're just little nudges. I just remember, a lot of times teachers coming up, and usually it's you think you have this big problem with the drawing, but really it's like not even that. It's usually a very small issue. And so I always tend to think, try to think of it as like, yeah, it's probably not that big of it. You know what I mean? Like, don't overthink it, because it's probably pretty good. It's probably right, because you want to try to trust yourself. You know, even if you're a beginner artist, you want to like kind of start to, even if it is wrong, it's like you want to strengthen your intuition. You want to be, start to become confident with your ability. You want to be able to trust it, but you also want to question as well, not swinging either way too much. You want a little bit of both. So I'm just kind of sitting back and evaluating this, thinking where I can. So I think I'm getting a little bit too complicated with this shape. I don't think it does as many turns as I have. So I'm going to go with this little thing here. It's a eraser pencil thing. And I'm going to kind of simplify this a bit more. So I'm going to break that down a little bit simpler. Yeah, so that looks, maybe not. Yeah, something like that, a little bit closer. Not quite there, but it's gonna take some, just gonna keep, it's really it's all about being persistent with it, and it'll pay off. It takes a little while to get it there where you want it to be. And never get too, try not to get too honed in on a certain area, because usually that's where you make mistakes. If you're just so focused on trying to get that one thing right, usually something else is maybe throwing it off. It's usually the case. Like right now, I feel like maybe I'm honing in on something a little bit too much. So I may have to restrain myself from working on this area, because I just feel like it's kind of drawing me in to the abyss a bit of, so I might actually go down to where this cheekbone is and maybe work on that area a little bit more than the other one, just to keep, you don't want to kind of lock into areas. I mean, it's gonna happen, but you want to try to like minimize that, try to bounce around the drawing a little bit more than, I mean, you're gonna eventually have to hone in, so it's not, the end of the world, but it's a little too early for that. But so we got that. Some real kind of interesting. There's like a light that's hitting this zygomatic bone here. It's kind of like fading off. I'm kind of just sort of blocking it in as one light shape. I'm not trying to get complicated with all those different little values in there. I'm just trying to indicate that it's in shadow. Just drawing with shadow and light. So I'm still drawing, as you can see. Not necessarily going into like a rendering stage quite yet. That'll come, but it's not my intention, you know. But yeah, that's something that you can do. And then I may want to darken this value around the muzzle, the teeth, the the mouth area. Call it the muzzle. Sometimes it's artists will call it what you want, but I'm just gonna basically block in just a value around there so that I can, I'm not necessarily trying to like, you know, fill in a huge area. I'm just trying to kind of indicate that there's, you know, there's a space, negative space in that area. So then I can go in there and pull some stuff out and like that. So you know, it's a slow process. What I will be doing later today, if I have the energy, which I feel like I will, I'm gonna try to do a painting of this skull, starting from ground zero and working my way up, and explaining maybe some of the differences, but some of the similarities in the drawing process versus the painting process. I would call myself more of a like draftsman, drawing person more than a painter. Painting's kind of, I would say, relatively new. I mean, I've done it for the last, you know, maybe 3 years, I would say, intensely more. But, well, not intense, like, as drawn, but, I would say I'm more stronger with, drawing, so, it'll be, I come from more of a drawing background, I guess you could say, so that's that, and you'll see that video posted, probably later on today. I'm going to, I plan on finishing this, well, not finishing the drawing completely, but wrapping this session up on the drawing and moving on to the painting. So I'll probably be, you know, working on that later on and then posting that maybe around, later on around dinner time. So you'll see that eventually go up today. And I'll be painting the skull again. I'll be painting the same, like the same view and everything, just to keep it consistent and everything with what I'm doing on this one, so we can really compare and contrast the two things. Yeah, so I'm just trying to, sometimes you just gotta wait it out, wait for the right decision to kind of pop in your head. There's really, you don't want to rush things, you know, you want to make calm decisions. You want to figure out what is kind of the best thing to do moving forward in the drawing without destroying anything that you don't want to sabotage what you've been working so hard on. You want to be able to constantly push it forward without losing, the structure. So yeah, this is how it looks so far. Looks like we're in like 15 minutes now, which is good. I feel like we're progressing pretty fast on this one, but also very patiently as well. So I'm just gonna kind of go into these teeth a bit. Well, not really teeth. I'm not even treating them as like individual teeth yet. I mean, it's nowhere near that. So like, don't be drawing teeth at this point, because it's not gonna be it's not gonna end too well, because it's too early. So I just I'm still focusing on like the abstract shape, and I'm I'm also trying to kind of find the form as well and the structure underneath. Well, more so the structure, not the form and stuff, so more a little bit later. So I'm trying to see where maybe the jaw, how far that comes, where that aligns with, where I can put this. I'm starting to lay in a darker tone here. So you can start to see that kind of coming into play. Starting to create that value. I really want to try to get this cheekbone in here a little bit, maybe darker. It's a little bit more refined. So yeah, that's that. So let's see, what can we, so it looks like this mouth part can maybe come a little bit out more. I want to make sure that it's kind of coming forward, coming outward, coming ahead of the nasal cavity. Should be like lining up with that, which looks pretty good. The teeth right here, that plane of the teeth, I want to kind of think of it more as just a downward facing plane now, not really teeth. And really kind of you can start thinking of like, if you want to draw in like a little light indication of a center line to keep your symmetry and everything going. That's a good idea. Helps you to get that a little bit more sharper. Noticing, this has like a little slight dip to it. And it also has this weird cut. It's kind of interesting that it goes like that. So, and there's like these two little things there. Interesting. So, it starts to slowly form, starts to form at this point. It's almost like a fetus, as weird as that sounds. It's you're kind of giving birth to this almost creation of sorts. So I'm noticing this is just like way more, it's almost like it sticks out further or something. I don't know, it just doesn't seem right now. But that's, that's the thing. It's just gonna kind of take time for it to, can't rush things too much. So I think what I'm gonna do is gonna probably put, this looks like a lighter shadow, so I'm gonna try to separate where this is coming in. I'm gonna try to throw a slightly darker value, but I'm not trying to like I don't want to break the natural, like the nature's, order of shadow and light. I'm trying to, just break it enough to where it helps me to see the separation of certain structures. So then you can kind of start to think of that cheekbone, zygomatic arch, sort of start to form that. We start to get more of that in there. So I always try to lay a kind of line this diagonal value here diagonally, so I can draw in that cheekbone. And then I'm just gonna keep bringing it, just gonna slide this value into here. And that's, I'm doing this right here. This is pretty dark compared to that. So that's gonna help us indicate where the teeth, the tooth cylinder, if you want to call it that. Sometimes artists like call it stuff like that. If you want to call it that, you can call it that, or whatever you come up with. But just kind of starts to create some kind of separation, because you do need that in order to kind of indicate, help guide the drawing along. I also like to maybe I'll start to throw that diagonal in where the light's starting to hit that plane. It's almost like this triangular plane here. So I might just put that in as a marker, not just kind of like an indicator, but not quite solid on where it's at right now. I'm just sort of just putting it as a statement more so than certainty. So looks like we're about 23 minutes into this session. So I'm gonna look at how far it takes my eye to get from here to there, where that, where this tooth cylinder kind of cuts in. It looks like it's about gonna cut about right where this lines up. So I'll start to cut a value in there, slightly darker than the other shadow value. It's kind of a small gap, so it's maybe not as wide as that if I have that. So I'm gonna go in with my little like blending brush thing microfiber brush thing. Sorry, I don't have a better word for it, but it's just, you know, there you can use whatever really. It's just what I have on hand to use to carve into the shape here. So I'm gonna slim up. I'm actually gonna cut in with the knead eraser here. Gonna try to lighten some of this value here. It's gonna kind of mess it up a little bit, but I need to be able to, and I'm gonna go back and kind of give it that value again it had. I'm gonna throw in some, I'm gonna kind of carve this jaw in with some background value here. Hopefully my arm's not in the way. Still getting used to this camera stuff, and you know, it's interesting to hear yourself talk to. Like, I just feel like I'm making tons of mistakes, but it's a learning process for me as well as so I mean, you just gotta kind of give me time to. But I promise you'll learn something from this, and hope you're enjoying the videos. And I really I just want to thank you for your support, and I really appreciate any kind of viewership I can get, and just constantly I look for your feedback. I know I'm still early in the process. I know I have a lot to learn, even in drawing. I don't feel like I know anything or that, you know. I mean, I'm not above anybody, you know. I'm just a guy drawing, and I'm sharing, and I'd like to hear anything that you think maybe I could be doing better. If you even want to critique my drawing and say, you know, I think this is off, and I'll take that into account, and I will try to fix it. I really thought that, you know, I could build a community here, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do. While I'm doing that, I'm kind of teaching you something, hopefully. And so, yeah. Alright, so it's getting there. You know. Slowly but surely, stuff's starting to form, stuff's starting to go into place. Yeah, really, it takes a lot of persistence and trust. I mean, it is such a difficult task, and you gotta give yourself credit even when it's not going the way you want. Like, I can't say that I'm like 100% confident with what I've come up with so far, but what you can give yourself credit is for staying with it and constantly working at your craft. And that's just going towards working on a drawing, putting in that effort is enough for me to, you know, feel good about myself at least. You know, I know I put in the effort. I know, you know, like, stuff will fall into place eventually. There's a lot of trust in this process. You need trust. You need to trust that things are gonna come together, and they will. Sometimes it'll be harder. Sometimes it'll be like, oh, it's easy. It's not that bad. And you know, it's not always gonna be like that, but sometimes it will. So you just kind of have to ride out the storm, right? And it will subside, and things will be sunny again. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a skull, right? So, we're, it may not look particularly exactly like the skull, but at least it's going towards that, and that right there is enough to, like not many people, I guess, could do that, right? So, as long as you're putting the effort in and it's going towards that, then you're on the right track. So don't worry about things like being perfect and trying to make everything correct right away. It really is. It's a ongoing process, and it's a process that goes on through life, and yeah, it's not easy, but it's quite rewarding when you do get it. So just, keep persevering. You will get it. It will take some time, as all good things do. But you just gotta kind of, give yourself credit for even just pursuing it. I'm gonna keep saying that because it's just, I've understood that myself. It's just, it's really hard. So you really have to give yourself as much credit as you can, because it's gonna always, as skilled as you get, there's always gonna be challenges, and you're always gonna want to improve, and it's never really gonna get to where it's like so easy. Like there's always gonna be days where it's gonna be harder than others. So, and then there's gonna be days where it's gonna be like a breeze. Those days come fewer than you'd want sometimes. Sometimes they come a lot easier. But you just gotta be patient. Alright, so we're at like 32 minutes. You know what? I'm just going to let's spend about 33. We're at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's spend about, I guess, 7 more minutes. Bring it to about 40, just to call it even, and we'll take a little break, come back, and we'll work on this tomorrow. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a painting of this version of this skull, but I'm going to start it from the ground up. And it's good to do things like that. It's good to shake it up. Like, I could work on this drawing all day, but you start to lose the passion for it. So it's good to like kind of spark another energy. And so doing the painting will be a different medium, and also you'll kind of go through the process again, and you may find that to be like kind of, like you kind of would want to work on this all day, but it's good to kind of take a break from it and to restart the process and get comfortable with kind of a constant starting over almost, and rebuilding and falling in love with the process itself. So yeah, it's getting there. Let's see what else we can do before the time ends. Making smart decisions, and so I can probably look at maybe this is looking good, I think. So I'm gonna start pretty, it's a pretty sharp shadow. So I'm going to try to make that a little bit more cleaner, crisper. I'm just going to carry that as one. I know it gets a little bit more complicated than that, but I keep it sort of simple for right now. Maybe it gets a little bit more complex down here, but generally it's, a little bit of a, goes from like a horizontal to a diagonal to like another horizontal to a diagonal, and then it sort of breaks apart here a little bit. So now you're starting to see like the shapes sort of take on, starting to get a little bit more complex, but also still constantly trying to keep it as manageable, as simple as possible. Excuse me. But it's a process. It really is. It's really it takes a lot of brain power to do this type of thing. It's not gonna be easy all the time, but this is what you kind of have to. You sort of have to enjoy this part of the process to slowly get to where you want to be, and eventually just do this a little bit more smoother and a little bit, you get a little bit quicker. You go do this more. So I noticed there's a shadow that's kind of, it's sort of value here, and then it carves into there. It's like a triangular shape here. So I think in terms of like abstract shapes right here, and then maybe I'll just kind of merge it with this nasal shape. So yeah, just constantly redefining the shapes, and it gets very can get a little bit tedious at times, but it's sort of just part of it. It is what it is, sort of thing. Takes just a lot of patience, and certain things are gonna take a little bit more energy from you, and that's good to be aware of, because there's going to be certain days or certain points in the day where you're just not going to have the energy to take on certain tasks, and it's fine not to have the energy some days, but you want to still be able to draw, so you just kind of have to pick your battles and figure out, do I want to, is that eye socket, how much energy is that going to take? Is that something I can kind of knock out and it's not going to take as much thinking, or is it going to, is that more something that I can just, or do I just shade in the background and budge this edge of the cranium around? Maybe that's a little bit more efficient use of my time with my energy. So it's starting to come together. I feel like we're about to hit the 40-minute mark. I like to keep these around 30 minutes, but sometimes you get into the drawing, and the drawing kind of kind of dictates the time, and time kind of goes out the window, but that's a good sign. But you also want to make sure that you're not overworking yourself and you're kind of still staying on task and not going off the grid. You want to kind of constantly be aware of what you're doing and not just mindlessly trying to figure things out and not really having a plan. You want to kind of have a general idea of where you're going with it and not just, wandering. So I think this is where we'll end the drawing of the skull today. I plan on picking this drawing up. Tomorrow I'm going to actually be working on something a little bit different. So I think tomorrow I have a personal project that I don't think I'll be posting a video of that. I think I will be working on that it's not going to be videoed. It's something that I kind of want to keep a little bit secret. It's not something I want to share quite yet. But what I will do is I'm going to do a sphere painting, which if you look up there, if you look up top, right there, there's two spheres that I painted. The bigger one is more developed. The other one's a little bit more premature. But they're examples of something that we'll be working on tomorrow. I think I will try to do that maybe in the morning. Maybe I'll do that first thing. So you can expect them videos tomorrow morning. And then Wednesday, I believe we'll continue on the drawing of the skull and then continue the painting on the skull that I'm going to be starting today. So yeah, subscribe. It's free. Just, click the thing on the bottom and, share it to other artists that you think would find this information useful and helpful. And yeah, I would just like to kind of continue to build a community here. And I really appreciate all the support, and also comment and tell me what you think so far. All right, thank you guys for watching.